welcome to another episode of Gaming at the Round Table. I'm Crystal with Maverick and JoJo. So we are diving into a couple of topics today. One of them in particular is about an upcoming game called Borderlands 4. I'm sure you guys have heard of Borderlands, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, as people who have heard of the Borderlands game, first of all, this game comes out September 23rd this year. Super exciting. Have you guys heard of any of the drama that has come with this game?
Well, I'll start it off with
Steam
the fact that
comes out the ears.
Their CEO, his name is Randy Pitchford, but he's getting people to pick up their pitchforks because he's just making like comment after comment based on concerns from the community around the game. I mean, it's their fourth game. To say that that community is small is like trying to understate it. The community is very large. They have a pretty good cult following. The game is relatively well liked on different versions too. But their first thing that was like causing a bit of a fuss is the fact that a lot of the community was noticing that there's no mini-map.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you able to bring your mic just a tiny bit closer to you at all?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
If I go too close, the bass of my voice kind of like blows it out.
Yeah, so it's a balance. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're okay. So again, the community is kind of noticing in their gameplay clips that they've been releasing in trailers that there's no mini-map. And that's kind of setting people off because I believe the first one didn't have mini-maps. Now, after that, they've had mini-maps and it's helped because their maps are relatively large. They're very confusing. They're not just kind of like point A to point B. Like you need to get in a vehicle to drive around to get to where you need to go. That's how far things are.
Yeah.
2009, I believe, was the first Borderlands, according to Google.
So again, it's been around for quite some time. But again, Pitchford's response was kind of, I'll read the exact quote, and it goes, "Here's the deal. You guys haven't played the game yet."
He's so harsh with his words.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to interject. I want to come back to this topic, but I do want listeners to know this is not the only confrontational, controversial quote from Mr. Pitchfork. Ford.
That's why I made sure to point that out.
Yeah, oops. In very recent past on the same game. So similarly, consumers have been concerned over the $80 price tag that's been rumored with Borderlands 4 coming out. And his response, I actually wrote this down, is, quote, "If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen." I do want to defend him a little bit when we get to that topic because he didn't just say that sentence and only that sentence.
No, but that's what's going around.
Right. And phrasing is important. So while he did follow up with like an example of a very expensive game in decades ago that was basically the same price long ago, he still is a CEO, right? You have a presentation layer with which to present to the rest of the world. You represent your company. So if you make a harsh, immediate statement, if that's the first line to your answer, that's what's going to get quoted and tweeted and shared, right? And so it's obviously not a one-off because that was one example. And now let's tie back into where Joe was. This is the other example of, have you played the game? Was like, obviously not.
I mean, he did follow up, and again, to give him some fairness, this was his fuller response. But again, the initial response kind of sets people off, and they don't really see the follow-up to it. But he said, "I'll tell you the deal. I'll just be straight with you. We made a big freaking world, and a lot of the things you can do can be in local space, but a lot of the things you do or want to do are out there. A local space map is not a good way to navigate when you're thinking about objectives and the opportunities. Several at the same time that might be miles away. Compass really helps us do that." So I'm assuming his trade-off is he gives you a compass and not a full-on mini-map in the corner.
So what from what I'm reading on it, the reason why they don't want a mini-map specifically is because there's a lot of verticality to the map. So what it sounds to me is that they didn't know how to implement a mini-map that could show the different dimensions of the area. And so they were just like, oh, a compass. Because I'm sorry, A compass is not going to show me verticality any better than a mini map.
Worse, actually.
That's how I feel. Like,
So,
but again, we have to wait and see how they deal with it, because
no, we don't. No, we don't. I have opinions.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
We
so.
have our opinions, right? But like, I'm still hyped for this game. Like, I want to be clear about that. I'm still very hyped for this game. He's problematic, you know, who isn't nowadays? Um, but like, I'm excited for Borderlands, for the game. I don't appreciate how he's going about it with his words, because like he could have been like, oh, you know, guys, just give it a chance, you know,
I'll give you
wait and
another
see.
quote.
Or like, yeah, we don't. Another quote. There's another quote.
We
There's
want you to play
more.
the game and not play the minimap.
Okay. Okay. I have so many
And
responses.
not
I'm
play the
like
map is the
boiling here.
exact wording, but it's essentially the same.
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, if Randy Pitchford ever hears this, I have
Uh,
nothing against Mr. Randy at all. I think it's very easy to get stuck in a quote. Like this dude has a whole life in a career, and he's getting quoted, and he's probably said thousands of lines, right? But these are the ones that are getting circulated. So I'll give him the credit there. But the topic at hand, I still feel strongly about. Many ways. First of all, as is no surprise for anyone that knows me already, I used to fly airplanes, kind of a lot. And yeah, airplanes have compasses. But you know what you don't do? You don't land using just the compass. You have like GPS systems and LNAV systems and all these vertically compensated systems so that you can navigate in a three-dimensional space. So I'm very familiar with the complexity, both as a indie game developer and as someone that literally spent their a large chunk of their life in a three-dimensional environment with maps and that kind of stuff. That being said, there are many games out there that have historically done aerial combat with maps. There there are many games with multiple tiers of verticality in their maps. Is it easy? No. What I think is happening is that it is a balancing act of budget and his idea behind, not his idea, the idea of like play the game, not the map. No, we most people play on massive televisions, 60, 70-inch TVs. If you're sitting on a couch wearing a controller, your eyes have to pan like crazy. And it's a very cool immersive experience if you're playing a movie, right? Or you're playing some sort of slower paced game, something that's more about the aesthetics. But let's be real, Borderlands is a shooter, a fast paced shooter. You don't want to waste time panning around trying to, let alone the little compass. It's probably going to be a strip at the top, like most games do their compass eye.
well, again, we don't know yet, so
We don't know yet.
we can't judge based off of that.
Okay,
So.
even if it's a massive compass, right? Like it's still okay. I'm going towards this dot, right? I get the idea of wanting people to explore, but honestly, I don't buy that. I don't buy that that's the main motivation. I highly suspect this is complicated and expensive to develop. It would push our runway out too long. So, do you guys want a good game? Or do you want a great game that doesn't release? Do you want another GTA 6? Right?
Oh.
I'm going to play the flip side of that argument because
Sure.
I've been playing Doom, the newest iteration, The Dark Ages. So the full title is Doom, The Dark Ages. It has no minimap. Unless you pause it and check it in the menu, it's not on the screen. So it has that ping system where you have to hit a button on the D-pad and then it shoots out like a sound wave type thing. And then it tells you where things are at. Now, their workaround, and I think the reason they're doing it, is they have a lot of hidden areas that you want to try to go find.
Yeah.
So they actually don't want you to see the map, because that's something a lot of people will do with a mini map, is you see the shape of the map and then you see like a random like peninsula in the corner of the map. You're like, what is that? You tend to like go check it out because you want to see what's there. Now, if they're trying to have you immerse in the game and find it on your own, they probably try to hide it. And again, when you go into these hidden areas, Doom will literally tell you, oh, you found a hidden area. And it'll pop up on the monitor.
I'm glad you brought this up because it brings up another notion I didn't hammer down on, which is the aesthetic of Borderlands historically has been heavily cell shaded. And for many people, myself included, it makes me sick after a while. And I distinctly remember in the original Borderlands and in at least one other of their franchise, I would get visually lost after a while and my eyes would tire out. And so if I didn't have a map, it it was very difficult for me to maintain my depth perception in the fake environment because it's not just a digital environment, it's now a very stylized fake environment. And I have not the only person I've heard complain about the ability to like perceive things as they're meant to be perceived in Borderlands specifically. And a map, especially a mini map, helps a tremendous amount if you're just like not seeing a corner because it's so stylized that then your map shows you, oh, I'm supposed to go around there. There's something there. And it's very helpful. I can see it takes away from immersion, but if I get lost, I'm going to get frustrated, especially if it's like not an exploratory game.
Well, we also had a friend mention their use for the mini map was seeing when enemies are about to overtake you, right? Because the little red dots all over the mini map was a warning system, like, "Hey, you have enemies coming." But that's due to the fact that I'm assuming, I haven't 100% asked him, but I'm assuming it's because he couldn't see the enemies very well due to the style of the map. So now that he doesn't have that mini map and that available to him, it's just going to be more difficult. But again, I do want to keep saying we don't know what they're implementing. It could be better. Now,
Yeah.
I will say I recently played a game with a compass and I absolutely despised it. So, I'm just trying to keep such an open mind because I do have high hopes for Borderlands 4.
Mm-hmm.
But at least I'm keeping my expectations very level due to all of this drama.
We're definitely going to run out of time to get through all the topics we had stashed, but this is how the first episode of the podcast always goes. Joe, were there any other I want to make sure I didn't interrupt your train of thought too badly. Were there any other comments you had for that first topic?
No, like it just by chance I was playing Doom because I'm working on a review for it, and that actually because we had brought this up as a possible topic, I went like, wait a minute, there's no map because I was like looking for something and then I did the ping thing to like find what I was looking for, and when I did that, I'm like, that's why it's there because I've done that in other games. I'm like, I wish there was kind of like where you, I forgot what game did it where like it sends out a fairy to like point in the direction you're supposed to go.
A few games, yeah.
A lot of games do that.
Yeah, like that's an idea that I think works,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the added step of like I have to mechanically do something to figure out where I'm at.
Yeah, it becomes a part of the core game loop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, maybe they'll balance things like that. I still think it's a budget issue. Speaking of budget issues, Mr. Randy also stated the whole, if you're a real fan, you'll make the $80 thing happen. He cited an example from decades ago. I'm tempted to go in on him, but at the same token, everything's getting more expensive. Like eggs are expensive, right? Like games going up roughly $10, excuse me, something in my eye, is not that surprising. Now, I think some of the pushback for me is that current AAA titles, right now, I can go to the PlayStation official website. I can go to pre-order some samurai game that's coming out. I forget the name. It starts with an S. It's not even out, right? Pre-order, brand new AAA title, $70.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about Borderlands 4, but let's be real. It is not going to change the gaming industry, right? It is a Borderlands game. I don't think that warrants it being $10 more than what's already fairly expensive, $70, right? Yes, there have been more expensive games in the past. And there's rumors about GTA 6 being $100. But again, GTA 6 has been delayed 800 million times. I'll worry about that when it happens, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about this year.
I also think, and in the defense of GTA 6, even though I'm not a GTA fan at all, I do think it's going to be groundbreaking when it comes out. I genuinely
It better be, or they're going to get sunk.
Yeah. But to your point about the $80 game, that was his response to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, yeah, his response to someone saying it would fail at $80, his professional response was real fans will find a way. Like, I mean, even reading his thoughts on what he said was like, yeah, I mean, it was kind of, bad, but like, bro, you need to stay out of the cameras if that's how you're going to talk, because all these people are going to do is take the bad things that you say and make that what you said and all you said.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just, I mean, he's getting Borderlands 4's name in the news,
notoriety,
though.
right? Like, yeah, he's probably smoking a stogie and being like, "This is why I'm the CEO."
Marketing,
I fired my marketing development team.
I mean, we just made a whole podcast about Borderlands 4,
and mainly his commentary on different topics. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
on that same topic, Switch 2, Mario Kart World for Switch 2 is rumored to be $80, and certain other games that are going to come out for Switch 2 are going to be $80. Reason I mention that is that's clearly where the market's going. But again, that's where it's going. That's not where it is right now. And that is on a next-gen console. Don't flame me. I know Switch 2 has limitations. But it's still the next gen for that console. Well, we're still on the same console. Borderlands 4 has no reason to be even more expensive than everybody else.
When does the Switch 2 come out?
It's this year. But while you looked it up, I think the argument that some developers misconstrue. No, I can't get this word.
Misconstrue.
There we go. So I think it's scale versus price. Like if you have a game that is, I'm going to just use a random number, like 60 hours worth of gameplay. I can see you saying like, yeah, it's worth this much. But if you have a game that's only worth like 15, 20 hours of gameplay and you try to stick it with like a $70 price tag, that would make me feel kind of like ripped off if I play it for like one weekend and then I'm done and I'm like.
Yeah, that actually goes to your point. I recently played The Midnight Walk. Heavily recommend. If you're not a horror fan, do not play it. Do not play it. But it is a really, really good game. The game was $40. That whole thing, 700 pieces of clay assets that they made by hand, clay animated in this game, $40.
It was also only like 10 hours long.
It was like
that's my point. Is scale makes like
how much effort you put into it, how much money you spent making the game, unfortunately, doesn't transfer over to how much the market is going to see the value.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Also, I don't think you guys realized how now that $80 game thing is happening, because
don't hurt me.
June 5th. June 5th is when the Switch 2 comes out.
Oh, wow.
That's like
2 weeks.
Less than 10 days.
Oh my goodness. The future is now.
So the future is now, yes. So games are definitely going to start bumping up their prices fast. That's why they're doing it now. That's why it's happening so much. And Borderlands 4 doesn't come out until September. So their $80 price tag is justified with how the market will be by then.
It's a response. Like that's
tariffs
all I'm gonna say.
Don't affect the past, right? I don't want to go down this route. There's so many other topics that are related and tangential. Like, for example, there are free games that have just as much content to what Joe was saying. And gotcha games are notorious for this. Freemium games, and the way they balance it is they have the cash shop, they have the microtransactions, they have all this stuff. So an argument that you're going to hear from the online community and from myself is that if your game is really expensive because of all this development and stuff that went into it, MFer, there better not be microtransactions in this thing. And
there's going to be.
There's going to be microtransactions.
Is there in Borderlands 4?
I have no evidence.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I have no evidence. But I'm saying, like,
they've had some in their games.
I will be stunned if both Borderlands 4 and GTA 6 don't have microtransactions.
GTA 100% will.
So I'm going to try to get away with a quick Google here just because this is the topic at hand, just to see if I have to eat my words on this. But the premise is still the same. That game should not have microtransactions.
Borderlands 4 is expected to avoid excessive microtransactions similar to its predecessors, Borderlands 3.
Excessive. You see the key word here.
They will not engage. Excessive. Yeah, I don't know.
Excessive doesn't mean anything.
A DLC model with in-game earnable cosmetics. That's what they've usually done. All right. So it's going to be DLC, is from what it sounds like.
Fair enough.
But I don't think it's going to be like microtransactions, okay? Like,
and if it is, we'll cover that when it happens. For sure.
Right. But it's, I mean, honestly, if the CEO wasn't a bully,
I said it's his delivery.
You're a bully.
It's the delivery.
Harsh words. This game would just be a normal game coming out, but he could be doing this for marketing because, like I said, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So we're not the only ones talking about it.
I do think he believes it. I really do. You don't off the cuff say stuff like that if it's not really how you think. Other people like not Japanese, so I can't say Japanese names very well, but Shuhei Yoshida, a former PlayStation Network executive, has voiced an opinion on it too. And he basically says that he considers $80 or $80-ish for current games a steal, based on what's required to make them and the quality that's coming out. And so, Randy's not alone in his opinions here. He's just the one being cited and flamed currently.
Because again, it's how he came about responding to people saying stuff to him. Like, you have to be very...
Like, if he said that this is the way the market... Like you stated, like, this is the way the market's going. That's a different response to if you're an actual fan, you'd pay it. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm not going to go to Disney and spend $250 to $300 on a lightsaber. Sorry.
Yeah.
But people do.
You're not a real fan.
Yeah.
No,
you're either not a real fan or you're a peasant.
Father of 3.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we're getting sidetracked here.
I think that would be the one to call it on.
Yeah, we have totally. Woo. We have more topics, but we're going to cover them in the next episode. Look forward to hearing a bit about Kingdom Hearts 4, the Disney franchise, and other similar topics soon.
Yes.
I touched on that at the end.
You did.
All right, good.
Hey guys, we kind of ended a little abruptly, so I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little outro here. I'm Crystal with Maverick and JoJo. That's the end of our Season 4, Episode 1 of Gaming at the Round Table. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.